Dia putting Shanghai on his back right now.
Welcome back. It's time for the second match of the day. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Puckett, and I am joined at the desk. We brought in the best from Europe. We got Sideshow Bren as well as Zoe with us once again. Zoe, I have to ask you, what were your thoughts on the first match? We just saw a 4-0 for the Valiant, which you called.
Thank you very much for pointing that out once again, as I try to signal that to you throughout the entirety of that last map. But yeah, I'm not disappointed. Valiant did exactly what I thought they would be doing. It was fantastic to see Soon again on that Widowmaker, and I really much hope that San Francisco Shock can bounce back. Yeah. Let's go with that.
We'll see if they can do that a little later in the week. For now, we got games to get into, and the second one is going to feature a Shanghai team that definitely underwhelmed during the preseason. They had players arriving just a few hours before their first matches and didn't have the team coordination we were expecting. Since then, they've had 3 weeks of practice. We know they're coming in ready and fired up, and this is a team that says they're on a slow ascent to the top of the Overwatch League. The Shanghai Dragons.
We know there's a lot of talent on this team.
It's time to get this party started.
战队的目标应该是前3、前2左右吧。
加油，上海龙是最棒的，我们会得到自己所想要的成绩。
Shanghai Dragons getting their chance to attack,
causing Seoul a lot of anxiety.
The Shanghai Dragons have been making it happen.
期待的话，想跟其实打过了吧。我个人是非常喜欢跟射手玩。
Now the kills coming in for the Dragons.
And if there's a name that you need to know when it comes to Shanghai, it is Dia.
We all know how deadly this guy is.
这边有一种就是能够击杀，就是快速击杀那种。我觉得我的天赋打 C 应该是重要的。
It's a nice target selection from the side of the Shanghai Dragons.
Now Undead holding the point.
I still have Shanghai in the top half of the league. There are some very talented players on this team that Shanghai is going to put on a nice display.
我觉得每个战队的目标应该都是想夺冠，但是我们还是要一步步来。
Please put your hands together and welcome back to the main stage. It's the Shanghai Dragons. This squad went 0-2 in the preseason, but they said they didn't have much, if any, time to prepare as a squad. Zoe, they've been in the US now, they've been able to prep. Are they feeling good coming into today's match?
I think they are. They're definitely going to be more confident. They stayed here. They only had 2 days off over the holiday season. They've been coming in here at 9 in the morning every single day, staying until after midnight. They scrimped against every team, according to them. And seemingly, they've been really working on their coordination, on their hero pools even, as well as the synergy between those players. So they've got to be more confident this time around.
Sideshow, if Shanghai's going to walk away with their first win in the regular season, how do they get it done against the Gladiators?
I think they need to improve the structure and strategy that we saw from them in the preseason. They did look like a team that hadn't had much time together, and that's to be expected. But coming in now, we have to see something more from them. We have to see team strategy laid down and support of each other throughout these team fights. Also, I would like to see Undead step up a little bit, because he's got to be a second threat on this team alongside Dia.
That is a look at the Shanghai Dragons. Keep your eyes on Dia, their star sniper, as he'll be looking to pick faces to open things up. But it's now time to introduce the opposition. On the right side of your stage, it's our second team from Los Angeles. Put your hands together for the Gladiators. Coming out the front, we got the amazing support combo all the way from Finland. It's Shaz and Big Goose. And Sideshow, we saw so many different looks from this Gladiator squad, considering they only have 7 players in the active lineup.
Yeah, we saw 2 quite distinctly different styles, but definitely the 2 star players for me were their supports. Shaz and Big Goose were absolutely fantastic. There's the guy on your screen, Shaz. Mostly playing Zenyatta, was playing fantastically. The amount of right-click picks he got, individual performances, was amazing from these 2.
Bren, who's your favorite player to watch on this squad?
I believe it's going to be Shaz, to be honest, but it's closely tied up with Big Goose. Honestly, I love these 2 Europeans on this team because both these supports are absolutely incredible at what they do. I've been following them closely throughout their Overwatch career, and I gotta say, they just turn up almost every time.
Hydration, one of the stars from the preseason. We didn't know what to expect from him, and he put on a show alongside guys like Shore4. Gladiators, they went 1-1 in the preseason, pulled off a major upset today. Now they're going up against the Shanghai Dragons, and let's talk big picture. We know that the Gladiators, they were missing a tank. Bishu was sick. They played with a lot of triple DPS. Zoe, what's your expectations today going up against the Shanghai Dragons?
I mean, Bijou walking up on that stage, he looked healthy, he looked well. I can't wait to see him once again on that stage with iRemix. I love that tank couple. I love how reliable they are. I just generally think they have a very well-rounded roster. And I do think it's just a little bit better. I think they have the edge over the Shanghai Dragons. So I do think they're going to come out on a 3-1 here.
Brent, what are you looking forward to most in this matchup?
Again, I got to mention the supports. I mean, I sound like a broken record
just
here,
the support,
but to be honest, the supports of Shaz and Big Goose in particular, because these guys, if you just pay attention to them closely in this game, you'll see how much they are on another level in terms of when the Big Goose goes in with that boop as well to just peel for his team if he is playing the Lucio, which he probably isn't. Let's be real, it's the Mercy meta. But honestly, I've got to be looking forward to that one, and also Shaz on the Zenyatta as well.
Yeah, to contrast that to the Shanghai Dragons, it really has been their supports that people have been having concerns about as well. So there's a big difference in the styles of these two teams and where their strengths lie. It's very much the DPS players for the Shanghai Dragons, and they have to stop Asher just wrecking their supports in the back because they've been struggling in this meta.
Gotta look out for the Tracer always. That's the name of the game in the current meta of Overwatch. Let's get the official predictions. Zoe gets the bonus point for nailing the numbers. Where are you going this time around?
As I already said, 3-1 I think is the
3-1
result. Yep.
Brent?
3-1, I'm going to go with a 4-0.
4-0?
Oh, wow.
I think it'll be a 3-1 as well to the LA Gladiators.
Do we have anyone out there who thinks the Shanghai Dragons are taking this one today? I heard a hell yeah, Dia's my boy. Who's cheering on the Gladiators in this matchup?
There you go.
Hometown heroes, fan favorites. We'll see if they can get the job done. It's time to get this one started as we send it over to our casters. We got the Uber X. Take it away, fellas.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yes, my name is Mitch Leslie. I'm joined by Matthew Morello, and it's time for our first transcontinental match of the Overwatch League.
Yeah, extremely excited for this matchup. Obviously, Shanghai against the Los Angeles Gladiators. The LA Gladiators, their preseason, pretty mixed results, but I feel like this is a team that they have a very good roster put together. We'll talk about Shanghai here first. Dia was really their standout player throughout the preseason in the DPS role. You saw him a lot of McCree. They need Undead to step up, and then they need to get their supports in line.
Right, it's very easy to paint Dia as a star player on this team. Undead, his other DPS compatriot, is definitely well known in the past. He was a representative for the Chinese World Cup team as well, but hasn't shined early on here. We need to see Shanghai find a little bit more depth in their roster. Their stoush early on in the preseason was not overly convincing.
Yeah, Shanghai has 2 hit scan players, 2 Lucio players. They need to figure some things out there. And when you take a look at the Gladiators roster, the biggest name on here, I think, is Surefour, obviously. You know, when you got into Overwatch esports, a lot of us knew Surefour, one of the better DPS players in the game. We'll see what he brings to this lineup. Can play so many different things, along with hydration.
It's a fascinating and incredibly diverse lineup, but it actually comes from 2 core components. The support players, we mentioned that they're both European. Shaz and Big Goose coming over from Scandinavia. And then if you look at the pairing of Bishu and iRemix come from a team before the Overwatch League was even at its inception. So you've got 2 partnerships, 2 duos that slot already into this team, and then the flexible players of Surefour and Hydration to fill the gaps around them.
And it's a great way to build a roster, right? I mean, you find supports who have synergy with each other, tanks as well, and then you just fill in DPS players. So, you know, you get someone that are versatile like Surefour and Hydration. You can do a lot of different things. So take a look at the maps that are going to be coming up in this series. They'll be kicking things off with Dorado.
Right, so you've already seen Dorado today in that previous match, and you do know how hard it can be for attackers to get the payload towards the end of the map. In fact, San Francisco were not able to do that. There are a lot of pitfalls and traps for the unwary on the attacker's side, but the defenders also do need to get aggressive and get in the face. Ladies and gentlemen, will it be shields up or will it be some Shanghai spice in your life? Let's jump into Dorado and find out.
We'll see what the Gladiators decide to do here, Mitch, because it's interesting, because during the preseason, we saw a lot of Surefour and Asher as the DPS combo for this lineup, and now you see, you know, when they had Hydration, they were running a lot of triple DPS, and you had Bijou come out, and they were playing solo tank with Remix, you know, playing the Winston for the most part. This time you have Hydration in the game, and you have both tanks, so what are they going to go with here in terms of team composition?
And in all honesty, the Los Angeles Gladiators was a team that we kind of lined up early on with questions about how flexible they would be. What I mean is that do they have the full roster of Overwatch heroes available and hence the full array of strategies at their disposal? A very similar accusation or a finger that we pointed in the direction of the Dragons as well. That will be something to look out for in this match, and keep your eyes on Dia and Surefour, who are definitely the star DPS players on both of these 2 teams, looking to make big impacts, get big kills early in these fights, and stay around and alive for as long as they can.
So it looks like it'll be the Gladiators here on defense first, and it looks like you have Surefour playing the Widowmaker. We'll see if Hydration stays with the Doomfist. He actually has an account that he plays the competitive ladder on where it's Doomfist only. So he's one of the guys who's been practicing Doomfist over the last few months. When Doomfist meta was around, when he first got released, he was one of the better Doomfist players we saw.
It's a fascinating pick here. Doomfist is an up-in-your-face and aggressive choice for a damage-dealing hero. Hydration is going to want to make sure that the Shanghai Dragons have no room to breathe and no room to set up properly. Early on here, we're going to have Shusho up on this D.Va. Again, trying to get some high ground control and get an idea of where the Gladiators are set up early on so they don't walk headlong into a trap.
Doomfist is a great pick here when you get in that close quarter area, but with Undead on the Widowmaker on the side of the Shanghai Dragons, you don't really have anybody who can chase him out or really put a lot of pressure on him outside of Surefour and Remix on the side of the Gladiators.
Undead has his 2 tank players forging ahead just to make sure the way is clear and Undead has some space to try and do damage. It's going to be a Widowmaker versus Widowmaker battle of 2 sniper players here, as Undead is looking to try and pick off Surefour before going for his counterparts.
Yeah, the Gladiators have kind of given up this choke point. They're going to let them walk in a little bit, because that's where Doomfist can be really aggressive. And then also you take away some of the sight lines that Undead would have on the Widowmaker.
Bishu gets ejected from his mech, so a lot less protection is going to be available here for the Gladiators as Hydration is trying to stay safe. That's a big punch, though. You can see how low in HP Roshan went from getting knocked back into the wall. Hydration knows he needs to get back on the ground as quickly as possible because Undead is looking for those kills, but Dia comes in as demolition duty for the Tracer player on the Dragons. He picks up Hydration, and now the Doomfist is a non-factor. Surefour firing back, though, in the 1-for-1. Roshan is down, but gets resurrected immediately after.
And I believe that was the Valkyrie coming out from altering, and he dies right away. Shaz able to take him out of the sky. That's a huge kill. It's going to be Big Goose using the Valkyrie here for the Gladiators, as that healing coming from above from Mercy, chaining to everybody should be enough to keep them alive.
That was
big shot there from Surefour.
Surefour waits until Shusho is ejected from his mech. He times it so that the mini pilot D.Va, when she gets knocked out, is vulnerable. She's in midair, she has minimal control. It's easy to pick her off. This is what Shaz does. Note that he's sitting in the backline here, providing healing, but Zenyatta is a support hero that can do so much damage. Altering is forced to pay for his life by going in to resurrect Roshan.
Yeah, just a Discord and a headshot there from Shaz. Puts away Altering through the Valkyrie. So now the Gladiators, you have your own Transcendence. You're going to have a self-destruct here. You're getting close to that Meteor Strike on Hydration as well. We'll see how they put that to use. And see, when these players are coming through the choke, he's able to put down so much damage on the tanks. That's going to force Freefield to use that Transcendence a little bit early.
Hydration's in trouble here. He's forced to jump out and use his Meteor Strike ability. Dropping down, gets a bit of damage on Freefield, who was caught on the edge of that one. Hard to follow, but Hydration basically had to use that chance to get out of the fight. When he was being sort of kept at medium range by his opponents, Doomfist is a lot weaker. And now we have 2 fights in a row that Los Angeles Gladiators have been able to win. Surefour's been able to stay safe on that Widowmaker and do damage without being harassed because Hydration is getting in the face of Shanghai and forcing them to deal with the Doomfist first.
In those small chokes, you're able to do so much damage on the Doomfist that you get the Winston or the D.Va weak, and then it's just one shot from Surefour to get an elimination there. So now the Gladiators, you have Surefour set all the way back on this high ground, not really going to be able to get towards him. It's going to be the Primal Rage is going to come out from Roshan just to stay alive here, as he's moving on forward. Now he's going to have to go all the way back, not really getting much anything there. Be a self-destruct just to get another mech back here. Not looking good for the Shanghai Dragons.
1 minute left in the round, and Shanghai are mixing it up a little bit. Undead goes for the McCree. Obviously fairly good at medium to long range, but needs a lot of babysitting and gets countered heavily by Widowmaker, who does more damage from further away in a safer fashion.
But here's the problem, right? I mean, you needed your own Widowmaker, Shanghai, to contest Surefour because you don't have a Genji, right? If you had a Genji, maybe you can go on the flank.
Why would you play McCree against this?
Right, why would you play McCree? I mean, he's not able to really do much against Surefour at range. You were better off staying on the Widowmaker and giving that a shot.
This may be the last chance for the Shanghai Dragons to make further progress on this map. It's 20 seconds in the round. Shaz has his ultimate ability, Transcendence, available. Going to be giving a lot of healing in an area of effect to his teammates. This is the best position he could be in as the Gladiators. Now, Hydration again, bites off more than he can chew, but manages to get out of jail free with the use of the Meteor Strike. Going to be backing away now. Surefour went down earlier in the fight, but he's brought back up. Hydration again, trying to stay safe. Looking for his next target, but Shaz still has that Transcendence healing ability.
Oh, and he's going to get a big pick. Hydration on Altering. You still have that Transcendence. Another pick there for Hydration. Taking out Roshan. This has been a tremendous defense here from the Los Angeles Gladiators. Everybody falling from Shanghai. And this should be a point A hole. Phenomenal defense there from the LA Gladiators.
If there's any statement that you want to be making in your first match in the Overwatch League, let alone your first map, it's this one. We do not see a lot of Doomfist at all in competitive play because there's a lot of risk associated with playing him. He struggles against heroes that can do damage from afar safely. Doomfist demands that you are close to him, or at least that he can get close to you to be able to be that effective, but I love how Hydration used it. This choke, what we call obviously those very close quarter scenarios that attacking teams have to filter through, is perfect because Hydration can wait around a corner until an enemy presents themselves in a compromising position, i.e. there's a wall behind them, and then finish them off, essentially for free.
And Doomfist is a hero who demands to be focused down because if he starts attacking you and landing those abilities, he gets the shield to larger his
Makes
HP
him far
pool.
more durable.
Right, so he's extremely durable. He can get into your backline, one-shot heroes. So you're trying to focus on the Doomfist, but then you have the dive coming in from the Winston and the D.Va. Oh, by the way, you have a Widowmaker at range where you don't have a Genji or your own Widow to really attack him. Now, just in terms of team composition there from the Shanghai Dragons, they really didn't give themselves much of a chance.
So we've seen a lot of Tracer play so far today. We probably will still see some more in this match, but Doomfist maybe is a different option than Tracer. Whereas Tracer likes to harass, do damage over time. It's a war of attrition when you're running around the backline. So Doomfist goes in and it's shock and awe. He gets the job done quickly, but sometimes isn't able to escape as effectively. But the Gladiators have, really lived up to the shields up idiom and have given him good protection as he goes deep finding those picks.
I would say Doomfist is really high risk, high reward, where
Absolutely.
Tracer is much more of a consistent pick. And I think it's interesting because we saw a lot of triple DPS from the LA Gladiators when Hydration was in the lineup. When this lineup's rolled out, if you're Shanghai, you probably don't really game plan against this because we haven't really seen it.
This is a super safe team composition from the Shanghai Dragons. Undead plays a Soldier 76, your archetypal soldier. Obviously he has a rifle and he has rockets and he likes to sit back and do damage, but he's not always as effective. And he lacks burst damage that Widowmaker would have from that same position.
And playing in this position that Shanghai is in, they're not really giving themselves much of a chance if they do lose this first fight because the checkpoint, the box of victory is so close for the Los Angeles Gladiators.
There's so much on the line for them. Yeah. What oh! Done. That beautiful stuff from Shaz. I told you he was insane in the pregame, and you see it right there. That's a very hard ability to hit. It's a right-click orb of destruction with Zenyatta. You need to predict the player's movement very well, and Shaz nailed it. Undead falls straight into yet another orb, and Shaz is really making an account of himself. He might be a support player, but he's getting a heck of a lot of kills.
And it's hard for Shanghai because when you lose Dia on that Tracer, your star DPS player, it forces the tanks to try and back up to help Undead, and that should be it here. One player getting to contest the cart, that will be Dia on the Tracer, but it's highly unlikely he's able to make this work. He does fall. It'll be the Los Angeles Gladiators taking map number 1.
And this is the crazy thing about Overwatch, is that sometimes you can have extremely long maps that go for quite some time. We saw Temple of Anubis in the first series. But on a map like Dorado, if the defensive team is effective and been able to prevent the attackers from making a large degree of progress, all they need to do is equal that. And you can see Shorefall on the Tracer pick, which is actually something we didn't see much from him in the preseason, but it was what he was famous for when he first started off in Overwatch.
And you also see what having a player like Hydration does for your lineup. He comes in the game, plays Doomfist, a hero that a lot of teams don't game plan against, able to turn the game in the LA Gladiators' favor.
So the score is going to be starting off 1-0 in this series. And the Gladiators, again, expectations are high. They've got a huge, strong fan base here who expect to see Los Angeles stand tall. Shanghai have an even bigger fan base, of course, as they are the only Chinese team in the league so far. Hey, that's map 1 done, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with map number 2 and beyond after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
Suffice to say that expectations for both sides here in our second match of the Overwatch League are high. A huge amount of Shanghai Dragons fans in the audience, and of course, Los Angeles Gladiators have a ridiculous cohort here in a crowd. I've seen incredible signs like this one. I've seen people in colors. I've seen even the homemade improvised shirts. A shout out to the Shields Up guys there in that front row. Thanks for joining us again, ladies and gentlemen. Map 1 is already done. The Los Angeles Gladiators made a stark statement early on here, Matt.
Yeah, I believe we have some substitutions coming in for this next map, so we can take a look at those. I think there's going to be one for the Los Angeles Gladiators. It'll be Asher coming in for hydration. So Asher primarily only played Tracer for this LA Gladiators team during the preseason. Expect now, as we go into Anubis, you probably see the Tracer and Widowmaker combo.
No doubt about it, I think, and I'll be interested to see how the Shanghai Dragons change up their playstyle. So it's going to be MG subbing in for Susha. So again, this team has multiple flex tank players that can show us a variety of different looks here. I mean, I thought Susha was okay in that previous map. I think, generally speaking, Roshan has been a standout because he's made the main tank role on the Shanghai Dragons look so impressive. Main tank being, you know, playing the Winston or the Reinhardt or the player that doesn't switch around or flex too much. But then again, the Shanghai Dragons lacked a bit of cohesion now. We saw multiple times where there's a primer away to Winston from the Shanghai Dragons trying to get into the back line of the Gladiators and had very little success in doing so.
Yeah, it's something they had issues with during the preseason. As we see, the next map will be the Temple of Anubis. And now they've had a few weeks to work on this now, Shanghai. Now during the preseason, they had some players get in like really late, weren't able to practice here, on land client against a lot of the other teams. But like Zoe was saying, they have practiced a ton leading up to the regular season. I think this is a team that probably still needs a little bit of work, as they progress through the regular season.
And this next map, Temple of Anubis, you've already seen it today, but if you are just joining us, it definitely gives us a little bit of a different flavor of Overwatch than we perhaps see on an escort type map. It's very much more slated into attack and defense categories. And this map in general, what you find, especially on a casual level, if you play at home, can be pretty hard to be successful in attacking. There's definitely, considerable advantage to how defenders set up. They have a lot of high ground, they have space, they have opportunities to use sight lines that the attackers wouldn't otherwise have. Which is why I like this game type so much in this map, because this is where we get to see teams put together these very specifically crafted strategies to try and break the hold of the defenders.
Yeah, on the offensive side, what we see a lot, or at least what we saw a lot during the preseason, is you have your Widow get set up on the archway right in the front of that initial choke point. You try and get your team to force the fight on the point, because if you can force the defense down from the high ground, you can actually give that Widow a lot of easy sight lines, uncontested sight lines to get some picks. So we'll see which team starts on offense if they elect to go with that strategy. On the defensive end, you just do not want to get off that high ground. Your best friend is having that high ground, on the left and right hand side, right by the point. You want to stick to the high ground as much as possible.
And of course, now with Asher coming into the lineup here for the Gladiators, as we mentioned, we will see him play Tracer, and that's what he does primarily play. Shawfall can do it himself, and we've seen that, but he prefers to be able to be left to be a little bit more flexible. So the Gladiators have these multiple looks that they can sort of rotate in and out of their particular team with. Bishu obviously is an incredibly good flex tank. His most impressive outings have definitely been on the Zarya and on that Diva pick. But Widowmaker, we've been talking about it all through preseason, Matt. This map is where she thrives. It is all about getting your Widowmaker, your sniper, to be able to not only kill the enemy Widowmaker, but then use the fact that the defenders often have to stand out in the open on this platform and through that little underpass and make themselves quite susceptible to being damaged in that way by sniper fire.
And the picks from Widow are so crucial from the offensive side when you attack point A, because the defense spawns so far away on point A. Most likely, you know, they get...
It's a long walk
Yeah,
back.
if you die once, I mean, you may get another shot at it, but we see like 1 or 2 picks from a Widow really decide, no, point A. When we get to point B, very difficult to play the Widowmaker rank because the chokes are a little bit smaller, not able to get a lot of those wide sight lines.
And a chance here for the Dragons to put themselves back in the running here. It was a slow start on the previous map, but this is a different type of map and a different type of Overwatch is what we're hoping to be seeing here, especially, of course, from the Shanghai roster. Dia is a player we'd love to see on the sniper or hit scan classes. But hit scan, of course, we mean if you're aiming on something and you click, you're going to hit them. But a Hanzo pick would be an odd one for him on the attack. It'll be a while before we see Shanghai's roster on the attacking side finalized, but let's talk about the LA Gladiators lineup, Matt.
Yeah, so the Gladiators, at least, you know, right now the one thing that stands out, we'll see if they stick with it, is Shaz on the Ana. Usually we see him on the Zenyatta. Ana can be very good on this map because you can get that, you know, high ground like I was talking about, and then also put down a lot of healing from range, right? You're not really kind of out in the open as a Zen. Zen, a pretty easy target for a hero like Widowmaker on the other side.
So Anna's obviously also, she's a support player and a healer, but also a sniper, which means that she doesn't have to be in the thick of the action to be doing her best work and getting the most healing down. Obviously, Shaz has his ability also to deter attackers. He has a sleep dart available, so if someone tries to jump on him and remove him, he's going to be able to deal with them. It's going to be very aggressive defense here for Los Angeles Gladiators, though, Matt, because of the Genji and the Tracer are going to be wanting to get onto the back line of Shanghai.
Yeah, the Gladiators are going to play right at that initial choke and just try and jump onto Undead as soon as they see him on the Widowmaker. We'll jump on board with Shanghai. Get a view of what they see here as they're on the attack. As, you know, just kind of poking down a little bit. You see, you know, they send their Tracer in. Just get some looks there. And Dia now trying to work behind enemy lines. MG going to back up as he knows the pressure's coming in on his own Widow, but it's going to be Bishu taking out Free Field right at the beginning. You cannot lose the support that early on.
See that surgical strike from the LA defense here, and they're able to do that because they have so much mobility. We saw, it was very pronounced that, you know, MG turned around to try and help the people behind him, his backline. But by the time that happened, we saw the kill feed display that Free Field had already been picked up. Bishu on the Diva himself is doing a very good job of getting in, getting the job done, and getting out.
You see from Undead's POV, they're going to send Roshan in there on the Winston. He's going to get very low, trying to back up. They're trying to force the fight on the point like we were talking about, but the Gladiators are just not going for it right now. They're just going to send Bishu down there to try and contest.
You can look, the sideline is so good for Undead here. He can do so much pressure from there, but now he's being harassed. This is what LA want to do with this aggressive composition. Shortfall finds his mark, but they've still lost Bishu. No Diva's going to be available now for the Gladiators, but it may not matter. MG drops to the point. You can see he's going to be beset on all sides by enemies. He's forced to head to the high ground, but they've managed to dig Shaz out of hiding in the back line.
And that's huge because you were able to have those players of the Gladiators playing on the point for so long because you had the healing from Ana from afar. As soon as you get Shaz out of the equation, Shanghai should be able to just kind of work down the point here. It's going to be MG taking out iRemix with a self-destruct. Asher, though, still on the point here for the Gladiators with Bishu. Bishu will get demech. Shanghai should be able to take point A.
Great moment for MG there. You could see he got desuited. He was taken so low that he was forced to eject, but he went for the self-destruct as he was knocked out of the suit. This allowed him to get a kill and jump straight back in the suit after the ability was finished proccing. So then he had the rest of his team join him, and that was very, very important for Shanghai to set that one up nicely. Now the Los Angeles Gladiators have to move to the second point to defend.
Yeah, no support ults here for the Gladiators. Going to get very close with Big Goose to a Valkyrie, but because Shaz was on the Ana, switches over to the Zen. Has to work up his way towards that Transcendence. You have both support ults. Here's the Primal Rage coming out. Be sure for taking out Roshan. It's going to be Transcendence that comes out from Free Field. We'll see if Altering decides to use his Valkyrie, and he does, just as Surefour pulls out the Dragon Blade.
The Cheeky Mercy's a bit slippery for Shortfall to catch right now. Shortfall just has to content himself with getting a little bit of extra damage on the big and bulky targets of the Shanghai Dragons. His Dragon Blade, usually a fight-winning ultimate, wasn't put to great effect there. You can see Shortfall again is looking to make sure that Free Field doesn't have the line of sight to heal the rest of his team, and they're going to chase this Zenyatta all the way home.
Use a lot of ults there from Shanghai. You used yourself a Pulse Bomb, Valkyrie, Transcendence, Primal Rage. You used a lot of ults there and did not get any progress towards point B. See if Surefour decides to make a change. He'll go over to the Junkrat. So Junkrat going to be able to put down a ton of damage. through these short chokes. We'll see if Surefour can take out one of these tanks as they try and move their way in.
So the fact that Shanghai used so many ultimates is a pretty clear link to the psychology of that last push for them. They expected or were hoping to win the round off the back of that. It wasn't to be, and now they're going to make do with very little else. Shaz has a Transcendence. Note that he's sitting back. He's trying to make sure he doesn't get jumped on by the divers of the Shanghai Dragons, but that's not good. Undead's going to get up in his face. So much damage at close range available for Reaper that it's really tricky to get out of his clutches once he has you.
But I wonder how long they stick with this Reaper, because Reaper against Junkrat, Reaper's not the most mobile of the DPS heroes. He can go into Wraith form and dodge some shots, but at that time, you probably have your Tracer jumping on him as well. So I think Shanghai may have expected a Sombra here, because a lot of times on point B, we see one of the supports switch over towards a Sombra. You hack that Mega Health Pack right underneath. You're able to build it towards those EMPs. Reaper is great against Sombra. Not really too great against what the Gladiators throwing out right now.
I hope we see it at some point soon. You can see Asher was really just trying to do some harassment damage, but has forced it back to the point as the rest of Shanghai have jumped on top of the Gladiators. Roshan, though, goes down first. He was supposed to be the spearhead of the Dragons, and he's cut off at the pass. The damage from Shaz was impressive there. You can see MG goes down, Undead falls, and then Surefour, again, sitting safe. Indirect damage is what Junkrat gives you, and Surefour seems more than happy to deal death from afar.
And you talked about, after game one, maybe the guys from Shanghai just not on the same page. You saw Roshan dive all the way in there. Usually you see the D.Va follow it up with the defense matrix to try and help out the Winston a little bit, but you saw none of that there. Roshan just go into the back, then he dies, then MG comes in a little bit too late, and then he gets demexed right away. Things fall apart for Shanghai right away as the Gladiators, they will have 6 ultimates going into the fight. Same pretty much for Shanghai.
Shanghai got their ultimates pretty quickly, but no, Ultra gets picked off. Bishu take a bow. A great way to start the fight. Now a self-destructing close quarters could be pretty dangerous for the Dragons. Surefour's looking for some explosive AoE damage, and he finds it. Undead had no idea what hit him, and Shaz! What a move from him. The headshot on towards MG. It's impressive the way that Shaz is able to lead his targets to account for the slow travel time of these orbs to secure these kills in such crucial scenarios.
And you kill Roshan towards the end there, so it's going to force the Shanghai Dragons to wait a little bit. Shanghai does not use any ultimates there during that fight, so they will come in with all 6.
So it's almost like they're trying to bait ultimates out of the Gladiators. Generally speaking, in Overwatch, if you have more ultimates than your opponent, you're probably going to win the fight. But what's more important is who dies first.
That's huge. They force the Transcendence out early. So Remix and Bishu jump right on top of Freefield. He pops the Transcendence, then they just back out. You've done your job at that point. You get one of those support ults out of the equation.
It's like playing chicken with the enemy. In that time, Gladiators are going to have the dinner for free. But Asher, he has a pulse bomb. His ultimate is ready. He wants to try and stick it on someone who's not going to be able to avoid the damage. Asher's forced to recall back in time to avoid the damage in his way. And he's looking for Freefield with that bomb. Freefield gets away from the explosion, but still takes damage from it. Asher now needs to go for a different target. D is forced to back out. The Transcendence now being used for the Gladiators. They're the ones with the extra healing. After forcing it out of the Dragons before they can use it properly, that's a huge bonus for the Gladiators, and going to give them the edge here in this fight. Asher finally hunts down Freefield. The assassination was successful, and D is trying to replicate on his own Tracer pick, but it's not going to be enough.
The Gladiators have done a tremendous job of putting a ton of pressure on Freefield. I feel like time after time they jump right on top of him. You see Asher there at the end, able to pick him up. Just making his life hell here, Temple of Anubis. And Undead still on this Reaper. I think I would like to see him switch over to something else. You're not really getting much great use out of the Reaper here.
You can see this is what Shaz did in that last fight again. We highlight this man because he plays one of the most vulnerable characters in the game and is still able to have such a big impact
that
there.
Is filthy.
Risk versus reward, Shaz definitely has that ratio under control. So now the Riptide's going to come out again. Surefour, this might be a warning shot. This can zone you in any way, but it's also going to be able to secure a kill if he uses it possible. No. It's Bishu that gets 2 with that self-destruct. Ultring and Freefield are down. Both supports are missing for Shanghai. They have no healing, and there was no way they'd be able to bear the brunt of the damage that the Gladiators were ready to give.
Now to be Big Goose with a Valkyrie. It'll be Shaz with Transcendence for the Gladiators coming up in the next fight. You have Asher with a Pulse Bomb. Maybe he's able to take out, if you can land one on a Freefield, that would force the Transcendence out again for the side of Shanghai, which would be brutal for them. You see the position that Asher is in.
No one's seen him yet either.
Nobody sees him up top here, just being sneaky. How has he not been spotted yet?
It's not a place you normally look at. That's the thing. This is great. So Asher now has a chance to sort of pace himself as he goes right in and tries to find a kill with a pulse bomb. It gets eaten up. The D.Va defense matrix is like a Korean space vacuum. And Asher's ultimate is put to rest to no avail. But there's only 20 seconds left. This is the last push for the Shanghai Dragons, and that bomb could have ended it there. Great stuff from MG to prevent that from decimating his backline.
And the Gladiators, they'll have both your support ults and you'll have Primal Rage. Great to stall out. They just dive in deep. That'll be the Valkyrie that comes out for the Gladiators as they get very aggressive Freefield going to use the Transcendence. Shanghai needs to get down towards that point, though.
They're running out of time. No time left. They've managed to touch the point before the time ran out, so they're going to get some overtime. Shore4 has a Riptire available, but he needs to find a safe space to use it. Looks like this will do the job just fine. Again, looking for his target. He lands the tire on towards a primal range Winston, but there's so much HP available for Roshan that it's barely a tickle. Shaz again tries to stay safe. You can see him and his other support player are getting pestered in the backside, but MG getting desuited in the fight. Shaz is now looking for his opposite number. Freefield goes low. He's down. Shaz wins the 1v1 on the Zenyatta, and now he has so much space to do what he's been doing this whole round. And that's just nasty. Undead falls into the path of an orb. The Gladiators have won that fight out at a crucial moment, and that's going to be it for the round. It's a 2nd point hold for the Los Angeles Gladiators, and true to name, their defense has been stellar thus far.
And when you can keep a Zenyatta alive, that's as good as Shaz. Obviously, he provides the healing, right, with the his healing orbs, and then obviously Transcendence. But the Discord orb is huge for just overall team damage. It just amplifies the amount of damage you're able to put down on that single target. That when you have your Zenyatta alive most of the time, your team is able to just plow through the opponents relatively easier.
That's insane. That's why it's so hard sometimes to get a good feel for the contribution that a Zenyatta player has to the fight. Because obviously in Overwatch, you're looking for kills a lot of the time. But Zenyatta adds so much more than that. The effective damage increase that you can offer to your team with good use of Discord orbs can be quite astronomical if it's used correctly. So this is a good look right now, again, for the Gladiators. Once again, all they need to do is get onto that 2nd point and capture it, and that'll be map 2 in the books.
Yeah, it's hard to really quantify what the Zenyatta brings to your team. Obviously, it's easy when you have one like Shaz, who's picking up kills constantly, but yeah, I mean, when you see Freefield die, right, I know a lot of times early in the fights, it's the tanks not peeling for him, it's the tanks being very aggressive for the Gladiators, doing a nice job targeting him out. And then once you lose, your Transcendence for the AoE healing as the ultimate, you lose the Harmony Orb, able to heal. It's just when you have all that damage and all those big bodies, the tanks coming at you from the Gladiators, and you don't have the Discord to really be able to take them out easy, that's where you see the biggest difference, I think.
That's why Zenyatta players are sought after, definitely at the top levels of Overwatch. So this is an interesting composition. We actually see a Orisa here for the Shanghai Dragons. Probably one of the least mobile characters in the game, and she immediately implies to a viewer that the Shanghai Dragons are not looking to move too far. They want to play around a very localized area and make the most use of the Orisa barrier that can't be shifted.
Yeah, you saw Shanghai setting up on the high ground. What they most likely will do is throw the Orisa barrier down. They'll have Undead on the Widowmaker, stand behind it, getting a damage boost from altering on the Mercy. This is a very difficult setup to break.
And this is also Shanghai admitting that they don't want to take too much ground here. They want to give a lot over to the Gladiators. And the Gladiators can move in towards this point, take up real estate, and they'll have more of an opportunity to decide how they want to attack.
And you saw Shore4 at the beginning of the game was on the Widowmaker. I think they actually see what's going on and they change things up. So they go with Big Goose on the Lucio for the speed to get through the choke, get to the point a little bit faster. They'll have Shore4 play the Genji. It doesn't really matter now. It just gets headshotted on the way through.
That's how quick it is. We have no evidence of what actually happened there except for what the kill feed told us. Even though Big Goose was speeding his team up with his aura effect to get into this area of the map, Shaz was just lagging a little bit behind and got caught out there. Nicely done from Undead. Undead's very safe, by the way. He's sitting behind that Orisa shield, so you can't counter that with a Widowmaker. It's really hard to break this high ground position.
And when we go to the overhead map, right here on the high ground, you see it's going to be the push coming in from the Gladiators. They're able to get both supports at the beginning. So what Shanghai also did is, well, Shanghai doesn't get a kill here. It is a bloodbath in favor of the Gladiators. But what they were trying to do is they played the Junkrat on the opposite high ground. So when the push came through from the Gladiators, it gives you a spot of mercy to fly to. You can go to the opposite balcony to get to that Junkrat, get out of harm's way. Didn't exactly work out quite well. You see here, Shore4 with a dash. You pick up the kill with the Genji, the dash resets, able to just dash right back up, get on through. That was way too easy there for the Gladiators.
That's what a good tank player does for you, but I digress now. I've got to get into the second part because LA are very close to finishing this match in general. Roshan forced to jump away. He has healing from his own Zenyatta, but he's so low, he's being pressured out now. Shore4 can just sit behind him. How much space does this man have? He's hardly getting harassed. Another Dragon Blade. That might be the final nail in the coffin, but he catches Dia into salvo of shurikens that claims the life of his opposite number. Now chasing down the Mercy. Altering can't escape. Freefield's going to fall next. It was Remix combining with Shore4 and the Dragon Blade, this time having a huge impact for the Canadian player. Shore4, again, trying to avoid the explosion there from the self-destruct of the Diva, and Undead pretty much on his own here. He's down. Not much the Doomfist can do, and that's going to be it. The Gladiators only needed to get 1/3 or 33% of the capture process on that second map. That's because they defended so well, Matt, and that is impressive. Once again, A brilliant defense paves the way for a quick attack.
And that was a strategy that Shanghai used on defense that a lot of teams in the preseason had trouble breaking. It just shows you the Gladiators, they went back, watched a lot of footage, game plan for when the Orisa with the Widowmaker was up on that high ground, how to challenge that. They did it in a great way.
Time for a break as we catch our breath after the blistering pace of the Gladiators. And when we return, we'll head over to our experts for their take on what we just saw.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
Name. Go. I'll be watching over. It's not a strategy.
We are live in the Blizzard Arena where the Shanghai Dragons currently trail 2-0 to the Los Angeles Gladiators. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, at the desk once again. We got Sideshow, we've got Bren, and we've got a lot to talk about, all mostly in favor of the Purple Squad, the Gladiators, making this series quite swift. And Bren, already, they're showing us something unique today. For the first time, we're seeing Doomfist, the short-range DPS hero, in the hands of Hydration.
Yeah, so this is a first that we've seen so far, and I've actually got a lovely little clip just to demonstrate why he's so powerful, where they used him here on Dorado. And if we get this up, we can actually see how we actually made this play happen here.
And this is our insights provided by Intel, brought to you by Bren's Pen. Let's go, Bren. What do you got?
Let's go. So as you can see as well, we've got Hydration here into the building section, right there, just waiting patiently by himself. But this actually provides incredible sightlines for him to use Doomfist. So Doomfist has an ability called Rocket Punch, which can actually do a significant amount of damage to low HP targets, which really is just a playground for him. He can start pushing himself out of this doorway here, and he's got beautiful sightlines all around here to get these picks off from the positioning of Shanghai Dragons. And we got a short clip just to really demonstrate really why it is so powerful. if we just play this one out. And you can see it's only a short one, but again, just the power and the potency of Doomfist on this map is really nothing to be underestimated.
And that's really his key play. That's the insights powered by Intel. We're going to have a lot more telestration segments coming up here. We want to know from you guys, which heroes do you want us to focus in on? Because for me, I'm always excited when I see a Doomfist. During Contenders, a guy named Leaf became a household name with his Doomfist. Hydration, one of the few Overwatch League players confident enough to pull it out so far in the regular season.
Yeah, you know, you're going to big Hydration up, though, and he actually got 3 times more deaths than everybody else on his team. He got 3 deaths. And the next highest was 1 death and then another 1 death. So this was an absolute stomping actually that happened on Dorado. It was 5 kills for the Shanghai Dragons against 25 kills for Los Angeles Gladiators. So this was a huge difference in terms of how they were taking the fights and whether or not they were actually able to close out those kills. And so it's been a stomping so far for the Los Angeles Gladiators. Shanghai Dragons really got to get back into it.
And we hyped up one guy ahead of the game, and that was Shaz. Of course, we show some love to Big Goose as well, but when you look at the 2 players that are playing the same heroes, Shaz and Freefeel have been seeing a showdown. Shaz seems to come out on top, not only over the other support players, but also even some of the DPS players for Shanghai in her first 2 games.
Yeah, we can take a look at the statistics as well, and you'll see that the damage per minute is crazy coming out from Shaz. Even though the healing's fairly similar because, you know, Freefeel's gonna boost up those people who are taking so much damage, the eliminations, the final blows, the damage that Shaz is able to put out on this hero is incredible, and the fact that he's actually played less time than Freefeel overall. Now, you've got to caveat that with Shanghai Dragons have been getting destroyed so far, so Freefeel's been getting picked a lot more. He's spent a lot more time with the spawn queue, but at the moment, Shaz is living up to the hype.
Let's talk about the big picture here. Shanghai Dragons, we knew they weren't practiced coming into the preseason. They've had 3 weeks now. They only took 2 days off during the holidays. Where are they looking better, Bren, if at all? Because so far, I know we've been watching a lot of the purple team.
Yeah, it's really hard to say that Shanghai were looking better. I mean, before we highlighted Deer as one of their star players and one of the shining lights for this team, but again, even he was struggling to have an impact against LA Gladiators. They seemed much more prepared coming into this match. It really doesn't, you know, hold high regards now for Shanghai as we're coming into the rest of the season, especially considering that they did practice over the holidays. These guys were grafting hard over the course of it, getting into practice matches, getting in, you know, a lot of trying to fix the mistakes were happening in the preseason itself.
Yeah, I think one of the other limitations is just the hero pool that they have access to. They don't have a Genji player on their team, and so they can't dive effectively. They have to play more passive compositions with double hit scan, where Undead is rotating through Reaper and Soldier 76 and Widowmaker while Dia's on the Tracer. So this limits the style that they can play, and at the moment they can't get that aggressive high tempo stuff like we saw from Los Angeles Valiant with Agilities earlier.
All right, we still have 2 more maps to go. Shanghai Dragons still in this one, but they'll need to win back-to-back if they get the job done. Which player from the Gladiators do they need to shut down, Sideshow?
If they're playing aggressively enough to get onto Shaz, that would be fantastic to take him out of the picture. I don't think they'll be able to. I think starting at the front and trying to shut down some of their tanks with the double hit scan is going to give them the best approach here.
All right, we are halfway through the second match of the day. On the other side of the break, we'll see the finish here as the Gladiators take on the Shanghai Dragons as we go into Control coming up next. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
No one can hide from my No one can hide from my
And our second match of the day here at the Blizzard Arena is one between a team of Enigmas and a team of Oddballs. We're still learning very much about what Shanghai Dragons are bringing to the table in terms of the diversity of their strategy and their approaches and even their attitude towards the game. But when it comes to the side of the Gladiators, it's very much a cross-hatch combination of players from all around the world. And if you follow them on social media, you see they're not too afraid of not taking themselves too seriously. They're a really sarcastic bunch of people.
They're a fun group of guys. We got Hydration coming back in here for the third game in this series. He'll be subbed in for Surefour now, which as we go into Ilios, it'll be interesting what we see him play. We can take a look at some of his stats from the previous game. He was on Doomfist, and I don't know if I expect to see the Doomfist as much on Ilios, but it's definitely a hero he can cause a lot of problems with.
Again, we heard Bren discuss the way that Doomfist has played a little bit earlier on in this series, or in the break, should I say, and he kind of likes those tight corners, some buildings to work around, situations where you don't know he's waiting for you until he's already pelting you around the chops. Ilios being our next map, it does feature also a lot of risk for players from getting knocked off of the map. Picks like Lucio here are definitely a possibility. We've seen Farah already in the mix, and we talked about hydration. I mean, the proud country of Brazil has had a lot of representation in esports in the past, and this guy is no different, of course. One of the youngest players on this Gladiators roster, also one of the most flexible. We expect to see something from him here.
I think that's what you will probably see him play. He can play the Farah on this map. He's a very talented Farah player. I mean, potentially you could run like a triple tank if you really want to try and grab some people into the well. You could put him on Roadhog, right? And just kind of, barrel your way on through, especially on well.
No, this isn't Sparta, but the well operates pretty much the same way. If you get knocked in there by any kind of ability, it is lights out, and you're back to the pavilion for a quick respawn. We've seen teams try and build around that factor. The fact that if you displace your enemy or knock them around or make it hard for them to keep their footing, you can get yourselves quick picks in these fights, and then you don't have to exert yourself too much to give your team a man advantage early.
Yeah, now with Asher in the lineup for the Gladiators, I think Shanghai can definitely expect him to be on the Tracer. So you have Tracer as one of the DPS. You're wondering what hydration plays. It looks like at least here at the beginning, he will be playing the Farah. Interesting, when you sub Surefour out, who takes up the Widow responsibility? So we can go to Ruins for the Gladiators if they decide to run the Widowmaker there.
That's really interesting.
Shanghai Dragons. Undead looks like he will be playing the Farah. Interesting. I wonder if Freefield will stay on this Moira. Moira can provide a lot of healing. If you don't have Mercy in the lineup with the Zenyatta, Moira is a pretty good option to pair with Lucio.
I don't love it, purely because of the fact that, Bishu is going to be able to eat up a lot of Moira's orbs. It's just where most of her damage comes from, and a lot of her AoE healing. With Freefield having his, those orbs actually eaten up on the D.Va, he has to play a lot closer and far less safely. Of course, it is going to be the Mercy this time for Shaz, so no, hijinks on the Zenyatta heroes. He's going to try and keep hydration topped up.
Yeah, Moira needs to be putting down a decent amount of damage also to keep her healing far up, right? I mean, she can only heal for so much, and then she needs to get more resources. Hydration now in the sky, just able to put down a ton of damage. Freefield gets very weak there. They're going to have to heal for him. Bishu, though, goes in, finishes the kill off. That's what we see a lot with, Farah Tracer combinations, right? That time it's Farah D.Va. Farah puts down some damage with the rockets. Tracer comes in, cleans it up. A lot of kills being cleaned up by the Gladiators. 2 direct shots from Hydration will take out Undead. This first point will go to the Gladiators as now they start to build up control.
So if you're a Farah player up against an opposing Farah, that's catharsis. That's what you're looking for. Get rid of that enemy Farah player. And it's hard to do, by the way, because while an enemy Farah is being healed up by the Mercy, you need to hit exactly two consecutive rockets on the enemy Farah to wipe them out. Otherwise, they're going to be healed up and ready to go again. If you have the element of surprise, like Hydration did, you need to use it effectively. And he's been rewarded for the damage he's done in the previous fight with an early barrage. Undead's forced to switch.
I mean, that first fight, and up until now, it's been been Hydration, who's put down 41% of the damage that's come out of the Gladiators. So you see it's just a lot of damage coming down from Hydration, and then a lot of the picks are being just followed up by Bishu, by Asher on the D.Va and the Tracer.
So that's 2 kills with a barrage from Hydration. Undead and Hydration actually felled each other in that fight. Undead switching over towards the McCree, which is a well-known counter to Pharah because he's able to hit those longer range targets without any delay on the travel time of his projectiles. Definitely a safe bet, but Hydration is happy to play Pharah against an enemy McCree. It's probably going to have to change his style or his positioning, though. He needs to try and stay safe, otherwise the Peacemaker is definitely going to, well, put him into pieces.
It's going to be a lot of pressure on MG in the D.Va role for Shanghai as well, because it's going to need to use the defense matrix to keep Free Feel alive. You know, Gladiators has done a great job taking out Free Feel on that Zenyatta time and time again. Zenyatta not a mobile hero. Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult for Undead to even get some shots off. You see just 2 rockets forces him out, and now you see just Hydration, the rest of the crew, just mowing down the Shanghai Dragon.
This is stunning. Hydration is not necessarily ignoring Undead, but he's avoiding him. He's making the rest of his team go for the part of the enemy team that's not been covered by the McCree.
Yeah, I mean, all it takes is Hydration to hit 1 rocket on Undead, get him low, and that forces him back.
What about a pulse bomb?
Asher with a pulse bomb there. Takes out Undead, and now the Mercy comes in for the res. It'll be altering using his Valkyrie. He gets extremely low. More damage here coming down from the side of the Gladiators, and now we're up to 96%. If you're Shanghai, you got to get a touch on the point.
Got to be now. It's in overtime. You can see Hydration trying to chase down the Mercy. Shaz has fallen to a Deadeye. Undead's found 2. The McCree finally starting to wake up in this fight. Ash is looking deep, though. He's looking for the squishy targets, but he's not able to get the full clip on Free Feel. Undead, that's 3 kills for the McCree from the Shanghai Dragons in this last fight. It's paid off, but not a moment too soon. The Shanghai Dragons cannot afford to give control of this part of the map over to the Gladiators at all for the rest of this round.
We'll see how long the Gladiators stay with the Pharah here, as we can take a replay look here from Undead's POV. Here is the Deadeye. You're able to get the Mercy out of the sky, get Hydration extremely low, get both of those kills. Now as we go into the next fight, it'll be Big Goose with a sound barrier for the Gladiators. It'll be led by Shazo.
This could be
uses the Valkyrie, and it's going to force the Valkyrie out, the Transcendence from Free Feel. It's going to be Shaz going in for a res. You do have that rocket barrage. Hydration uses it, only gets 1.
Hydration going down, and the self-destruct claims him. He can't move while he's in midair using the barrage. It's a problem for Pharah players quite often. Remix is trying to stay safe and get healing, but Hydration that's a compromising position. Playing in close quarters against McCree, he gets stunned up and immediately eliminated. Remix so close, but not quite enough to get towards Undead. Dia and Undead are now playing in tandem very well. Ash is forced to step off of the point here. You can hear the annoying beep in the background. That's reminding Shanghai that they can't get this up. Pulse bomb drop, but not connected. Asher knocked away, looking for another health pack, and he's found it. Orbs coming around the corner towards Asher, and he knows he needs to take a brief pause here to get his health back. The Gladiators are still here in numbers, Matt.
But Shanghai is going to get both support ults here very soon. Free Feel's at 88% towards that Transcendence. He gets very low.
Got him.
Drops at 99%. Not going to have the Transcendence in this fight. Altering now, getting close to his Valkyrie. MG with a big kill onto Iremix. D-Max Bishu as well.
He shut down the tank line of the Gladiators. MG, good work getting in there and dealing with the bulkier targets. But now Ash has managed to respond. He gets rid of MG, de-suited and removed from the game for the moment. MG gets resurrected by altering, but he can't get back in his suit. Hydration finds him, and now Big Goose wants to play around the point. You can see how he can boot people away or knock them back. He's trying to get people into the well. That's all he can really do at this stage with the amount of healing available to his opponent. Oh, he's done it! He gets the boop on Free Feel, while Free Feel was using the most important ultimate the Dragons had available. Big Goose just completely gutted the Dragons' chance to finish this.
We'll see. It's going to be Big Goose also using his sound barrier here, trying to stay alive. You see him bump MG, trying to knock him into the well. As also, be a self-destruct comes down. MG gets taken out with a nice headshot there. The Primal Rage comes out from Roshan, just trying to stall this out a little bit longer.
Big Goose now the star, as Shaz was in the first couple of maps. Hydration finds Undead with the barrage of rockets coming down. Free Feel's alive for the time being, but Big Goose is trying to chase him down. The rest of the Gladiators seem to have found their marks now, and they're feeling it. Pulse bomb dropped by Dia, but no one connects with it. And we see quickly, Hydration tries to get into the air, but he's taken down. Roshan onto the point. It's going to be a long fight, ladies and gentlemen. Strap yourselves in. Big Goose sits back comfortably now. MG tries to take to the sky, but Altering's low. He got too close to Asher. Picked him off long range with the pulse pistols. Asher with all the room in the world to work with here. And MG's going to get demeched as well.
Yeah, and Shaz pops the Valkyrie there, keeps everybody alive, brings Hydration back at the beginning of the fight. Now you're starting to see the kills go in favor of the Gladiators. They'll take possession of the point quick. Overtime will disintegrate at a rapid pace. It'll be the Gladiators taking point B here on Ilios.
And if you think you're slightly tired from watching that, you should wonder how the players are feeling. That was intense. And this is where we get to see one of the biggest strengths of the Shanghai Dragons roster. They brawl out. Mechanically speaking, they are easily on par with the Gladiators. This is the kind of game type that we really get to see a team's team fighting abilities brought to the fore. Individuals get to shine. Big Goose goes nuts. That boop on a Zenyatta whilst he was using that Transcendence ultimate, that took away the only get out of jail free card that the Dragons had in that fight. They were banking on that ultimate to win them the round.
And with how long the fights drag out there on well, Transcendence is huge. I mean, if you have a Transcendence, you can really take the point back in your favor. Shanghai, they'll bring Widow into the mix here on Ruins. It'll be Undead playing the Widow, and actually, the Gladiators, they will go with Asher on the Widowmaker. So primarily a Tracer player throughout the preseason. Now we see him flex onto the Widow.
So the way this map works when Widow is at play is that these two Widows dictate how, who has control of the point and how the round generally works. If Asher gets a pick, the Gladiators have a huge advantage. If vice versa, then it will be the Dragons. Big Goose goes down early, though. He's picked up at long range by Freefield. The Zenyatta's really shining here, and Asher's not given any room to work. Roshan sees his target. The smug purple lady was the one to be doing the damage, and Roshan knew he had to get rid of her.
And you see the effects. Once your Widow drops, the Gladiators back out. They will concede the point to the Shanghai Dragons here at the beginning. That'll allow Undead to get into a favorable position here. We'll see if Undead can create some sight lines that are advantageous to him. He's getting the damage boost from altering, playing the Mercy right behind
that's
him.
Dangerous, Big Goose. Playing a Mercy against the enemy Widow is tricky because it's hard to dump altitude as a Mercy. If you're up in the air and high up in the air, dropping down is always going to be dangerous. It creates very predictable movement patterns for an enemy Widowmaker to trace you on. That was close. Asher tries to duel that Undead. He comes off worse for wear, but now the response is there. Both these Widowmakers are giving each other love taps across the map as their teams are trying to do the dirty brawling here. But MG's out. It's going to be Valkyrie here, in fact, used early on in the fight by Big Goose. A lot of healing, and he resurrects the fallen Widowmaker and Asher. Sniper's back in play now, and Undead needs to back out of this one.
Yes, this should be the Gladiators taking the point. They pop Valkyrie, lead on through. You're going to bring Iremix back into the fight. No,
surely not!
Oh, Battle Mercy coming on through. Big Goose.
The hero in the game with the least kill potential, i.e. it's pretty hard to kill people with Mercy. Big Goose shows up and gets himself a little bit of a star moment.
When she's flying through the sky, she's a very difficult hero to hit. She's all been there in the position that Undead was in.
She actually has a voice line. If you kill someone with a pistol, she says, you might not want to tell your friends about that.
Well, unfortunately, we all saw that for Undead's sake as the Big Goose flying on through. Valkyrie using the damage.
Starting to style on these guys now. Big Goose really.
Asher will have that in sight. He's going to give his team, all the visibility, and it's going to be Freefield forced to use Transcendence early again. So the Gladiators done a tremendous job forcing out the Transcendence from the side of the Shanghai Dragons. 2 picks there from Asher.
Gladiators, they win the sniper battle. Asher has 3 kills in this fight so far. First he kills the enemy Widow, then he kills the enemy Mercy, altering that was trying to resurrect Undead, and then he finds Roshan. Kills half of the enemy team, and that's why Widow is so important in this matchup. If she has pole position, if she has some space to work, she is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and here's the bad thing for Shanghai.
Oh, that's
gross. With a pick there on Adia, we see him do that time and time again on the Zenyatta. But Hydration has this Dragon Blade. There's no Transcendence for the Shanghai Dragons to fight on through this. As the MG does take Hydration out, though, in this close quarter area.
It's very chaotic fighting around this part of the map here. Shaz, you can see he's going to come forward now and give that healing. It's an aggressive use of Transcendence, though, as he's trying to make sure his team can get in the face of the Dragons without taking too much damage in response, and it's worked really well. Freefield and Undead are both down, but Freefield was resurrected. It's not enough for the Dragons to continue fighting, though. Look at Asher. Look at this confident, aggressive positioning.
And Shanghai switches off of their own Widowmaker. They go over to a 76, so it's a lot like
Does
Dorado.
That admit defeat in the
yeah, it's a lot like Dorado, where they switch off of the Widow, they went to McCree. If Asher just backs up, there's nobody really at range they have to contest him, but he's playing close range with the Widow. Okay, he's trying to hit Stain shot as he's going to use the grapple, fly on back, get to a little safer position.
See Roshan coming in over the top, and Asher doesn't seem to be too worried about the Winston. What about this one? It's the flailing flying fist of fury from the Primarate Winston, but Roshan gets nothing done with it. It's all bluff and blunder, and to no avail. Shaz picks him off. The damage from the Zenyatta again continuing to be strong. We're in overtime now. Los Angeles are in control of the point. Last chance saloon for Shanghai to bring this map back in free fill. It's turned into expensive cutlery. The Omnic Monk is no more, and Hydration makes it 3. Beautiful stuff from the Gladiators, and once again, it's a map that goes to the purple and white.
The Gladiators were able to force Freefield there in the last fight to use that Transcendence a little bit early again. Hydration still so patient with that Dragon Blade, able to take out 3 there. The Gladiators take the series here against the Shanghai Dragons, but we will play that final match, see if they can get the 4-0.
You can tell so much about how the team is feeling. Again, by how they're using the ultimates, but also where their Widowmakers are set up there. You see Asher was starting to really feel to get aggressive towards the end. Let's head to a break, ladies and gentlemen. Around the corner is our final map of this series.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
It's been quite the day for Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen. The Gladiators now showing that they're not to be outdone, of course, by their green and gold counterparts. It's a 3-0 lead in this series for the Gladiators right now, and they look incredibly convincing.
Yeah, you see what this lineup has in terms of their versatility and DPS, right? Sure4 can come in, play the hit scan characters at a very high level. You have Hydration, who can play a little bit of everything. Sure4 will be coming in for Hydration here for our final map in the series. Still have Asher in the lineup, who's a very good Tracer player. You put their versatile DPS with the core tank lineup from Kungarna and then Big Goose and Shaz from Giganti. It's a very talented team.
It's funny, there were some accusations of inflexibility level that the Gladiators earlier on the season, as I alluded to, but they seem to be doing just fine without it. And now 5 King is going to be coming in for altering. This player has a tattoo of Lucio on his ankle, by the way. That might indicate to us what we should expect to see from him.
Yeah, altering has been playing the Mercy for the Shanghai Dragons most of the time. We can take a look at these stats, though, from Asher on Ilios on the Tracer. Phenomenal on this map with both heroes. We saw him playing a lot of Tracer, a lot of Widowmaker. On the Tracer, though, 21-2. It's a huge number, just in terms of eliminations to deaths, just the gap there. Well, shows that Shanghai was not dealing with him whatsoever.
Not only is Tracer, a hero that requires you to get very close to the enemy, but she also is the most fragile, the most vulnerable hero in the game outside of her mobility. So that's Asher being very, very good at knowing when to go in and when to go out. Again, it's the ins and outs that we talk about with a lot of these dive heroes. I mean, and this player as well got a little bit of, recognition when he was over in Korea, but was never a top Korean player like we see on teams like Shanghai and on New York. But in this roster, he is really rallying them and is starting to shine.
Yeah, he has been a phenomenal Tracer player. We can take a look. The final map in this series will be Eichenwalde. So, going into this map, obviously a hybrid map where you have to take the points, unlock the payload. See, probably a lot of Junkrat going into this final map.
Yeah, I love this map. Obviously, it translates to Oak Forest, roughly, and it's around southern Germany, which is where it's supposed to be set. This map is so interesting for me because it features a couple of those really close choke points, and then later on in the map, you have some incredibly wide open areas where hit-scan heroes can really dominate. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise up in this thing. We're going to our last map of the series here. Let's see if the Shanghai Dragons can put one more on the board.
See, on the defensive side of things, right? You can run the Junkrat on the first point. You can just spam through the choke, really make it difficult for teams to get on.
That AoE damage is just something it's not to be sniffed at, really.
Yeah, you probably have to switch off of the Junkrat as we go towards the second stage of the map, because like you were saying, there's so much high ground that you're able to have a hero like a 76 or a McCree up there, maybe even both, and just put down a ton of damage. Junkrat can't really get up to that high ground to contest those heroes.
And seeing 5kin being substituted into the lineup here for the Shanghai Dragons definitely gives me a feeling that we're going to be seeing a Lucio. And bear in mind, we did, I think, see a Lucio Moira start from the Dragons on Ilios. I believe it was switched very quickly.
Switched off of it pretty fast.
We saw Undead hastily go for the Pharah. So we'll see if that's going to be the case again. But this is a very interesting part of the map here. Very open, very wide, good for hit scan. And then as we head into the last stage or into the castle, things get very close quarters once again. So attacking teams and often defenders have to actually vary their approach and composition over each of the 3 stages of this map for optimal situations.
I feel like Eichenwalde is one of the maps where I see the most, just vast majority of the heroes being played on.
There's variation in comps.
Yeah, a lot of variation in terms of comps, right? I mean, you can play Torb here. There's a lot of different things you do with Orisa on defense. On defense, it will be the Gladiators starting things off. And we're going to see Surefour play the Pharah here on defense. Usually you see potentially a Junkrat here, but Pharah can do kind of the same things, right? Spamming the choke with rockets. And for Shanghai, okay, so looks like they're going to be running quad tank here at the beginning. Usually you would see quad tank with a Mercy, right, to just feed her charge to getting that res.
Yeah. There are a few teams that are playing this composition, by the way, or at least a quad tank comp. So it's time for the Dragons to go for something to mix it up. This is not standard from the Dragons, by the way. We haven't seen this in quite some time.
And so the tough thing for the Dragons will be dealing with Surefour. You already see how fast he's building up towards the ult on Pharah. You're just going to be able to put down so much free, uncontested damage. We'll see, though, if Free Field and 5kin can heal it on up. Well, they're not really going to be doing much healing. That's going to be 2 kills to Surefour, taking out both supports for Shanghai.
Yeah, nasty. Not much healing here. Undead is forced to take a breather with his healing ability, but that's the only ways he's going to get it from. Surefour looks like he's going to be brought back to keep fighting the good fight. But as he, rises from his slumber, he sees that the Dragons have seemed to have disappeared. The fire dimmed for just a moment now, and Surefour can, of course, use his jetpacks just to get an early vision of what the Shanghai Dragons are trying to set up with. And they're going to go away from this competition.
Now Shanghai, you switched out 4 players. You changed 4 heroes on your lineup. So you're going to reset all the ults. You didn't really build up towards much there. It'll be Surefour up top here, just still firing down rockets on the Pharah. He's going to have that barrage. But you have Undead going over to the McCree. MD play Tracers. Nice shots come out there from Undead. Get him pretty weak. Now Surefour is going to go on the flank. He has a big barrage set up here.
Not bad. Let's get a 1 kill. And Surefour obviously being protected for the most part there by Bishu. The defense matrix was placed over Surefour, kind of makes a bit of a cone of silence, makes it very, very hard to stop that Pharah from getting optimum damage. And they're going to chase these kills. They're going to get themselves extra ultimate percentage, and it's also going to be longer before the Dragons are going to have 6 men to come back with. Surefour's got to respect this. Undead will punish him, and that may have been an overextension. It's a long walk back to this point for Surefour to defend.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for Free Field to spawn up because 5kin presses them right back up into the fight.
They're trying to take advantage of this man advantage.
Now the Gladiator is going to be forced to back out a little bit. They'll get Bijou back in the mech. Now they'll start to push on through.
1 tick for the Dragons so far, and now the Gladiators have to get involved in this fight. Shaz playing very carefully. He doesn't know quite where the Dragons are set up, but he knows he needs to contribute in terms of the damage, and it looks like the Gladiators are making it happen. Roshan gets taken down by Bishu as he charges headlong in towards his Simeon assailant. It's going to be Undead to fall, and Shaz is in a rough position, but the rest of his team is there to protect him. Great peel from the tanks of the Gladiators allows Shaz to do damage and to stay alive.
And the Gladiators are able to hold on to that Transcendence. They only have to use the Valkyrie here to stay alive. You can take a look from Asher's POV. That's the pulse bomb that takes out 5kin.
Yeah, almost had himself 2 kills for the price of 1 there, but it seems to have been enough to do the job. 1 minute 22 remains for the Shanghai Dragons. They have a Valkyrie here for Fire King. It's going to give him that extra mobility, cause him to be able to resurrect his allies without there being an animation, so it doesn't take a few seconds, it can be instant. Asher looking in though, there's a Transcendence used by the Shanghai Dragons. Again, this is earlier than the Dragons want to use this ultimate. Asher and his team may have just forced it out of them.
We've seen that all series long, that Shanghai has used their Transcendence a little bit early. It'll be Undead taking out Asher there.
He's going to get...
He's not able to take out 5 King there. They do get some other members, though. It's going to be Rocket Barrage getting a few players weak. 5 King using the Valkyrie, getting the double res, bringing 2 more players back into the action. But yeah, I mean, well, there's so much players coming at him, through his front. It's so difficult to look up to get any type of contest on the Sherford there. 30 seconds left here. It's not looking good for Shanghai to make any type of push towards taking point A.
It's so rough for Undead as a McCree player. Yeah. You've got to look both behind you and above you at the same time. Being harassed by a Tracer and a Pharah is one of the most unpleasant things about playing McCree. And I don't blame Undead for struggling there. He did start the fight off well with that first kill.
And look to see if Big Goose gets this Valkyrie. The Gladiators play pretty aggressive, pop the Valkyrie early and take the fight to the Shanghai Dragons as Roshan diving on in. He's going to get weak, forced to use Primal Rage.
This is the last fight here for the Dragons. They need to get this point so they can continue moving on this round. It doesn't seem to have started stellar though. Shortfall now finds Free Field in the corner, gets 1 big rocket on him. That's going to make him hurt. Remix gets rezzed up back in the fight, so the Gladiators still have 6 players with Undead going down. No, Asher gives up his life to get the kill on the enemy McCree. Big Goose opts to bring up Remix instead. Perhaps a second time in that fight. Bishu taking cover right now again. Where is the enemy, he wonders, as the Dragons have sort of taken a brief pause in this fight, but Shaz again picks off Roshan. Bishu going hunting for 5 King, trying to find the Mercy, doesn't quite get her. No, he does. 5 King tries to slip away undetected, and Bishu's going to punish him for his hubris. Now up on the point, still being contested by both sides, and this is everything for the Shanghai Dragons. Last chance for them to make something happen here. The self-destruct claims Remix, but MG is punished, and there's nowhere to be seen on the point. The Dragons give it all, and it's not enough. The Gladiators, those shields are standing tall, Matt.
Tremendous defense from the Los Angeles Gladiators. Sure on the Pharah. Now, they had a lot of issues, Shanghai, in dealing with the Pharah on Ilios. It kind of carries over in to our final map here on Eichenwalde, where they were not able to get Sure out of the sky. It seemed like for the entire game, he was able to put down so much damage. The one time you were talking about where Undead needed to look up, it was so difficult because I believe he just gets rezzed. Then he has Remix jumping right at him, I know, playing the Winston. And then, I mean, he takes up so much space in your actual just POV, right? Where you're not really able to see where Shore is in the sky because Winston, as such a large hero, gets in your face and obviously putting down some damage as well.
The Gladiators are providing so much consistent pressure that the Dragons are struggling to juggle all the priorities that they have as an attacking team. And you'd think in the game of Overwatch that the attackers would have a chance to dictate the flow of the game. They can decide when the fight starts. Not so much when you're dealing with a Pharah and a Tracer and an enemy Zenyatta behind his tank line, dishing out huge amounts of damage. The Dragons, as soon as they get out of their spawn, they're beset upon all sides, and the Gladiators are not giving them any room to breathe. And again, when you're running a McCree, as the Dragons were, that's a very good way to shut down the gunslinger, as he often has to look up, down, left, right, behind, and inside.
And just like how they did on Ilios, the Gladiators just used great teamwork to be able to make this Pharah work, because Sherford finishes that first half with 31% of team damage. Only 8 eliminations, though. Bishu with 20 eliminations and Asher with 19. That tells me that a lot of damage coming down from Sherford, and then Bishu on the Diva and Asher on the Tracer doing a nice job getting in, finishing these players off.
So focus fire has been very good from the Gladiators. They're singling out individual targets on the Dragons, and they're putting all of their resources into eliminating them one by one. That's what you want to see at this level. Undead is going to play the Soldier 76 now. I think he wants to play a bit safer than on the McCree. 76 is a little bit more self-sufficient, has self-healing, and could run away in a pinch.
The Gladiators will play the Pharah on offense here, so Sherford will take up Pharah responsibilities yet again. This time Undead will not play free, he'll play 76.
Oh, that's so nasty.
That can't happen right away. I mean, Dia has to play a little bit more careful in that, because you have to know you only really have one great opportunity to hold on defense.
Okay, it's traded out. Undead eventually finds a kill on Shore, but you can see that 5 King was hoping to get a resurrect on his Pharah player, but he couldn't. He was forced away by the rest of the Gladiators. Now again, they're not giving them any room to breathe. This is great aggression, good tempo and pressure being applied on Asher. Pulse Bomb, this could be super nasty, but no, the Shanghai Dragons scrabble away from the explosive device. Dropped lazily on the ground, and now Asher's going to keep them inside the hunting lodge if he can, but MG comes out. 3 kills, but note that all of them, or 2 of them should I say, We're assisted by Zenyatta Discord Orbs, gets the D-suit, gets 2 kills. That's big. Shanghai hold.
That could have gotten ugly quick. You know, and Dia falls there at the beginning. You put a lot of pressure on a dead NMG to deal with the Pharah that's coming at you. MG picks up 3 kills there towards the end. As now they have switched off the Pharah. Dia will go to Tracer. Probably wanted to get back. Yeah, extremely low here.
Oh, it's mini Diva kill. That's so huge. Thanks for the replay. We wouldn't have known otherwise. That is so impressive. With the Bunny Blaster, that's a way to add insult to injury.
Now Sherfor, though, building up towards that rocket barrage. It'll be Shaz using the Transcendence. 5 King will use the Valkyrie here as see Sherfor just playing around the corner, able to land 2 nice rockets onto Undead. It'll be 5 King using a res onto Roshan, trying to keep him in the action. There comes the rocket barrage out of Sherfor, gets nothing with it.
5 King's done a great job staying alive and getting these resurrects, but it might not be enough to keep the Gladiators away from their front door. They're knocking, and Sherfor's already found MG in the fight. There's no resurrect available for 5 King. He needs to take a back seat. His Valkyrie also has expired, so he has less healing and less mobility, and that's going to prevent him from escaping as Remix bears down upon him. Welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and video games, and the Gladiators are looking real good now. It's so far to walk back for the Dragons. They probably don't have anyone remotely close enough. It's MG to try and keep this one stalled out a little bit longer, but again, he's dispatched very, very quickly. Time's up, Dragons. That's the series. A big bit of 4 Overwatch for you as the Gladiators look real good doing it.
Gladiators show why they're kind of a team that comes in as an underdog into the season, but a very scary one at that. They have a lot of versatile DPS players. You see the teamwork is there for this roster. It's one that I think as time goes on, they'll get even better.
I mean, the Gladiators showed us good and bad in the preseason. Now, much more of the former than the latter, I think it's safe to say. They did go down to the Battle of LA earlier on, which is a little bit tough. Obviously, they played up against the Valiant in the preseason, and that was a sick match, 1-for-1. But now we're going to head over to the stage. It's Zoe with Hydration from the Gladiators.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, please give it up for the Gladiators and Hydration, who's now joining me here on the floor for a quick chat. Congratulations, of course, on the first game, the first win of this very season. And there's the team getting celebrated on the stage. It was a great performance by you we saw in those games. Now, I want to talk a little bit about that. Now, of course, I want to start with your general preparation against the Shanghai Dragons. What did you guys focus on?
We just kept focusing on, you know, countering their 4 tanks because we knew they played a lot of 4 tanks. So that's one thing that we really focused on. And after we finished practicing for that, like we thought we were like pretty much all set.
All right. Now, looking at the break, there was a lot of time between the preseason and today. What did you guys do? Did you actually just practice day in and out, or did you guys go home?
Over the break, most of us went home, me not included. I stayed here. And this week, most people got sick after they came back. So that was kind of unfortunate, but that's what we did over the break.
All right, so going home, staying here, getting sick, the usual, you know, pretty much what everyone does. Now, one last question. We saw you guys busting out the Doomfist. You're very well known for playing that Doomfist on a very high level. Was that something you just used because you played against the Shanghai Dragons and felt very confident, or how do you make that hero work in the current meta?
I played it a very defensive style where we just kept helping our Widow stay alive. And that's kind of what we wanted to do with the Doomfist. And it's something I'm very comfortable with. So it's not like we're only picking it because we're against Shanghai or anything.
All right. He says that now, but... Thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure watching you guys on stage. Can't wait to see you again. And we're now heading to a quick commercial, and then we're back on the desk to break down that game.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen